6:56.
So moved.
Have a motion to return to regular session. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. No decisions were made in executive session. I'm going to make a motion to uphold superintendent's recommendation to pursue discipline expulsion for student 350019860 for an expulsion from Wirt County Schools for 365 days. Questions? Here none, we have a motion to approve the student expulsion for student 350019860 for 365 days, which is the superintendent's recommendation. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, we do have a student that has turned up to be recognized.
So I believe that we have Jocelyn Murphy, the 7th and 8th grader Young Writer Contest winner.
What was your story about?
It was about a princess who basically kind of wanted to escape being in like the trapped world, not having any freedom or being able to do stuff.
Very cool.
Neat. Please come up and get a picture.
Based on a true story.
That's right. I was like, all right, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that
Do you have that story?
everybody can relate at some point.
Like on a zip drive or something? No? I'd like to read it. I was going to say, I think all board members would like to read it.
Yeah, wait a minute. We'll get you.
We're gonna get you in a second. 1, 2, 3.
Now, come on in.
Just go up here behind.
Sorry, I'm new.
That's, you're fine.
Okay. There we go. Whoops. 1, 2.
Yeah, I'd love to read your story. If you could get it to your principal and they could send it to Mr. McCown and he can send it to all board members.
Based on a true story, what's? More? And you were just,
Jocelyn is her name.
you were just in the concert too, right? For the.
And
Banquet?
Oh,
What instrument do you play? Clarinet. Awesome.
she sings too.
Very talented young lady.
is there any food left over there?
Well, we just started.
Okay.
There will be some.
Thank you.
Hey, you get this thing
Thank
over
you
so
all
we
so
can
much.
come and join in.
Yeah, here's the thing about real last, you don't have to worry about getting too much.
Well, I made a.
Thank you, Mom, for bringing her out.
Yeah, awesome job.
Okay, let's see, we're down to finance, right?
Yep.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the payment of invoices in the amount of $313,016.72.
So moved.
Mr. McCown.
Okay, Mrs. Cummings is with us this evening, and the basket runneth over. We have several things to bring to you tonight. We have 5 runs of expenditures this evening. The first on 5/1/2025 in the amount of $3,181.68. This is mainly PEIA retiree insurance. The next run, also on 5/1/2025, totals $31,457.48. Noteworthy in this, we have produce, Mon Power, Wirt County Primary Middle School electricity, and the Department of Agriculture for food products. The next run on 5/14/2025 totals $66,679.09. This is mostly P-card with Gordon Foods and $57,232.99, and diesel fuel from Harris Oil, $8,630.31. The next run is also on 5/14/2025, totals $158,791.72. Okay, this is our netbook order for the schools. The town of Elizabeth for sewer and water. We have dental vision, insurance, and Vex robots for the high school. And then finally, also on 5/14/2025, in the amount of $52,906.75, we have the storage building door there. We have Developmental Advantage for behavior services and United Dairy for milk. And all of these runs total $313,016.72.
Questions? I do have a question. I've done this for a long time, and I never thought about this. Karen, what makes you do different runs? I know some of these runs are on the same day.
Yeah, so like the PA insurance, it has to be paid by the 5th of the month. So that one was released, that check early. The next run is a bunch of bills that came in that their due date was prior to this board meeting, so that ran also was released. Then next is P-card. I keep it separate because the state does have auditors that come around and they specifically check for P-card. So by doing it in its own batch, it allows it to be readily looked at and agreed to. The next two runs, it's from sheer simplicity, as
nothing wrong with
Mrs.
that.
Cottrell gets them finished and gives me a chance to get started on it, and then she keeps working on the next batch. So, so those two runs, we're done on the same day, but it was simply just to break up that huge mass of bills and get one done and let the next one get started inputting.
Okay.
So, but that's the madness
Yeah,
behind all that.
never did understand why there was.
Yeah,
but I get it.
usually the top ones would be the ones that would be coming due and being released, and then everything else is held at the board office until after tonight's board meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Questions about invoices? Here none, we have a motion to approve the payment of invoices in the amount of $313,016.72. All in favor say aye. Aye, opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, need a motion to approve budget supplements in the amount of $15,302.32.
So moved.
Mr. McGowan.
Okay, two supplements this evening. The first in the amount of $14,000 is a grant from WVDE Office of Child Nutrition for equipment. And then the second in the amount of $1,302.32, a WVUP grant for promoting healthy eating at Wirt County Primary Center. And those two total $15,302.32.
Any questions on budget supplements? Here none, we have a motion to approve the budget supplements amount of $15,302.32. All in favor say aye. Aye, opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. And no budget transfers. So I need a motion at this time to approve the teacher's annual service personnel monthly substitute teacher, substitute principal, supplemental salary schedule, and extracurricular salary for the FY 25-26.
So moved.
Who's doing this one? No. Mr. McCown or Karen?
Oh, I will turn this one gladly over to Mrs. Cummings. Probably the next couple.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, the salary schedules that you have before you, there are no changes in those. Those are the ones that are currently in effect. Essentially, those have just been updated to reflect that they will continue for the 25-26 year. And those are the ones that we have right now. So no additional pay raises are included in this pay scale presented tonight.
Questions?
So, yeah, so the amount that the teachers received the amount that they received last year is the amount that they'll receive in the coming year. Is that correct? Because you said no change, so.
There is no change in the pay scale. However, if a teacher is here and gains an additional year of service, the pay scales are built based upon degree and years of service. So they would gain an incremental year of experience.
So
But
if
the
they go
schedules themselves are exactly the
Okay.
same.
So if they go up by year of experience, everybody gets bumped up. by year of
Exactly.
experience.
For a year
Or if they get bumped across the category, of degree or additional?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so a year of experience for professional staff is roughly around $587 on the professional side for a 200-day person. And then on service side, it's around $320.
Do you know when the last time the scale was bumped? Last time the scale was moved?
2 years ago. Mhm. Not this year, but last year. The county gave a raise then. So we've done a $400 raise, and prior to that, an $800 raise.
Other questions? Hear none. We have a motion to approve the teacher's annual service personnel monthly, substitute teacher, substitute principal, supplemental salary schedule, and extracurricular salary for FY 25-26. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Need a motion to approve the FY 25-26 budget.
So moved.
Mrs. Cummins.
All right,
She has been diligently working away on this.
and it's still changing, so what we've got before you is a work of art. So that's what accountants are, we're creative. So tonight before you, you have your budget as it stands right now for FY '26 coming in at a total of $18 million. So your general current expense fund, that's where your local tax collections are. That's where the majority of the state aid from the State Department comes into. That is right at $14.9 million. Your capital projects, I'm only starting it out at $100,000, and that'll be the contribution from the county budget over to that. But right now, it has a balance of around $600,000, I believe. So that's what you would use to start building up whenever you would enter into the big building project. And then your special revenue, that is coming in right at $2.9 million. That's where all of the state grants and any federal grants come into that have restrictions for purposes of how those are to be expended. So in total, your general current expense, your capital projects, and your special revenue fund is at $18 million. You have a summary before you that just lists 3 different funds on there, and the very last fund you'll notice is the special revenue federal stimulus, and there will be nothing budgeted. All of that is finished out this year that we're in. Behind it are 3 pages that actually outline what each of the funds themselves actually look like. This will be distributed and published in the local newspaper. This is what the state format requires us to do at this point in time. Now, it provides a very broad overview and a summarization as to what I've been working on. I printed one document, and it was 54 pages and so small that I could barely read it. So it's a very in-depth budget, but this is a very summarized version that you have before you tonight. So given that, I've tried to prepare just a short little summary that's a handout. It's a copy of some PowerPoint slides that I thought we would just go through to just give you an idea of a little bit more in depth as to what's actually behind these numbers that you see here before you. As far as changes, everyone knows about PEIA. It's an average increase of approximately about 14% increase. With that, like family coverage right now, if someone would come in with that, the board's share alone is like $19,000 now for a position. So for a new hire that comes in, say it's a service person position that we're having come in, their salary may barely be $30,000, but if they choose family insurance, we're having to pay out $19,000 for it. So I mean, it's very costly. And that's in addition to what the employees are having to pay. as well. And then the other change that you'll see going through this budget, we also had to prepare to incorporate third grade aides this year due to legislative changes. So those are the two changes that have been incorporated within this budget. On your next page, please. State aid is approximately 71% of your general current expense fund budget. So behind here, for Mr. Moore's benefit, I've kind of wanted to just briefly give you a broad overview of where we stand with the funding formula, because we are very dependent upon the state aid funding formula. If you look at the budget itself that's presented for the general current expense fund, you'll see that approximately about $10.5 million of $14 million is coming from the state. So this funding formula is very important, and everyone needs to have an understanding of it and what it means. So it is a 10-step formula, and it's based on one snapshot in time, and that's what happens on October the 1st. It's based upon the number of people that we have employed then, and most importantly, the number of students enrolled. So our head count on that given day, actual students in the school system, was 862 students. Now, full-time equivalency means like some of those are 3-year-olds and they're not here all the time, or a student is just coming for services, so then they don't get to count them as a full FTE, full-time equivalent. So we may have had 862 physical bodies here, but they actually only equated to about 860 students. Now, Wirt County is unique in that because we fall under a threshold of 1,400 students, the state allows for an allocation of additional students to be added to our funding formula. And that's simply because they've established, even though we're small, we still have to get business done, and we still have to do things that other counties have to do. So they said, we need support, and this is how they come up with that. So they allow us to have, I call them ghost students, added to our funding formula to help boost the amount of state aid that we're actually going to be received. Because had those students not been there, we would have a severe cut in state aid. We would not be able to do lots of things that we have going on here, because that calculation added an additional count of 234 students into what we get funded on. So we went from 860 students to being funded for 1,112 students once they did that calculation. Pocahontas, Pendleton, now they get funded at 1,400. Us and Calhoun, I think we are the only two that are still under the 1,200 mark. There was legislative discussion of getting us up to the 1,200 mark, but it didn't go anywhere.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Yes.
Homeschool kids, they are allowed to take some classes?
Homeschool, I will yield to Mr. Smith.
So if they are homeschooled and not enrolled with us, they are not utilizing us for curricular things, although they can request textbooks from us and we can supply them. But we do have some homeschool folks that are taking part in extracurricular activities.
Okay, but not in classes?
I don't believe that we have any homeschool kids that are coming and taking any academic classes.
And do they count in those numbers?
If they are not enrolled here, they do not.
No.
What if they are not enrolled to getting extracurricular support?
She used the term FTE, so they have to be a full-time enrollment. If they're just here participating in sports, we don't get to count them in our count.
Yeah. And actually, your point that you asked, Mr. Sherlock, Policy 8100 is what governs all of our accounting procedures. They're putting in there and trying to get it passed by the state board right now. It's on public comment that we will now have to start invoicing for those extracurricular activities by Hope Scholarship students and anyone else who is not enrolled in the school system and coming and taking advantage, or being able to join us for those activities. So we'll have to do that, as well as any out-of-state students that we have enrolled in our school system. We now must shall invoice. It's no longer an option for us not to. So they're trying to pass that by whatever the next state board meeting is.
And another question on the health insurance.
Yes,
If an employee takes it at the family level, it's around $19,000 a year.
yes, that the board has to pay that
we have
share.
to pay.
Mm-hmm.
If an employee decides to not take it,
Yes,
do we have an incentive for them to not take it?
no.
For instance, could we?
Could we could explore that option.
So, for instance, if we had said, if an employee decides to not take PIA, we would give them a cash value of 10% of what we would have paid. So we would pay $1,900 to them in some sort of cash benefit as opposed to $19,000, which may encourage, if they have another form of insurance, maybe through a spouse or another plan, then we would encourage that and save money.
See, my gut tells me that it wouldn't pass muster because I believe that they would see that as a bonus.
Well, it would definitely be taxable income.
Be taxable,
Yeah, because it's a benefit that you're providing.
but it could be a benefit to the
Right.
school and to the employee.
But PIA has made it so cost prohibitive to have your spouse on the insurance. We have so few now it's because they're trying to get that spouse off of the insurance. For example, this year it went from $147 that an employee would have to pay in addition if their spouse was on there and they had the option to have insurance at their place of employment. They had to pay extra, $147 a month in order to have them on their policy here. That this year, going into FY26, is $350 now per month.
Very
Yeah.
good. So, but
Yeah.
if it was the opposite, if
Yes.
we had an employee whose spouse worked for a company that had a better insurance plan, and instead of them taking the PIAA because we offer it, they say, hey, I'll just go with my spouse's. It might be an incentive. If we could look into if that's even possible to do.
Do you think that would be considered a bonus?
Oh, it would definitely be considered taxable income.
And we can't, I mean, it specifically says we can't offer any bonuses that are not approved by the legislature.
That's true. The bonuses themselves that are outlined in state code are just the attendance bonus that we have and the retirement bonus. I would have to get further guidance as to whether or
Yeah.
not that would be
I mean,
considered
it
that.
could be taxable and not a bonus. The two.
I think we
It
give
could
it,
also be a bonus, but
yeah.
if it's taxable and not a bonus, then
Yeah. It depends on how they would view that. If they view that as a bonus, because we're only allowed to do what per se is stated in state code.
Yeah,
it would be like pay in lieu of.
Yeah,
Which may be a different classification. There's,
possibly.
there's a
mean-
lot, on the civilian
Yeah.
side, there's a lot of businesses that are doing this, and it's cost savings to their HR departments.
Yeah, but they're not publicly funded. There was a discussion about this at the school board's meeting just a while back, because there are counties that have stepped out of this bonus, okay, and are given bonuses for things, okay, that they're not allowed to. And those counties are now being called on the carpet and are going to have some financial penalties for doing that. Now, yeah, I think it'd take legislation, personally, I don't know a whole lot, but I think it'd take legislation to make that an offering. It's not, I'm not saying it's a bad offering, I'm just saying I don't think we can do it without some type of legislation.
Mrs.
Yeah.
Cummings, looking
Yes.
ahead on the possible cuts, what are the 3.6 positions that the Aware FY26 fund?
Oh, you're way ahead, aren't you? You are eager, aren't you? I bet you always skipped to the
sorry.
end in school, didn't you?
Go ahead, Karen.
Okay, all right. Okay, on page 3. I gave you a 10-year enrollment trend. And basically, it's just so that you know where we've been and where we where our trend is going. So in 2018-19 of this 10-year snapshot here, that was our highest year of enrollment, and it was at 1,088. And you can see we've been steadily on the decline ever since then, ending up with an FTE of around 860 currently. So our actual loss is right at 34.75 students. But because we've got those ghost students added in, comparing this year's adjusted enrollment to the previous year, it ended up being about 16 students, 15.9.
So we've essentially never recovered from COVID.
Correct. Yes, good observation. Yep. So because we get funded for those additional ghost students, our loss, so for every one that we lose, we're really only losing about 0.45 in a student. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because we get that added to us. So it's not a 1-for-1 ratio like those other counties. If they lose one, they feel it. For us, well, we feel about 0.45, about half a student is what it costs us when we lose one. So the enrollment determines the number of people that we're allowed to have. So for a professional job, it's about every 13.75 students gets us one position. So you can see that loss of about 16 students, it's definitely costing us a little over a position. So for our, on page 5, the very first step in this 10-step funding formula is how many professional personnel can you have? Well, it's based on a formula that you're allowed about 72 professional educators for every 1,000 students you have in enrollment. So we had 85.5 positions that are state aid eligible. They have certain criteria that you have to meet, certain positions that they will fund and others they will not. So we had 85.5 positions that were eligible. They only allowed us 79.57, so we're over 5.93. So that means we have to fund that part. On a service position job, it takes about 18 students in order to equal a job there. The funding ratio is every 55. You get 55.5 service personnel for every 1,000 students that you have in enrollment. That's what they consider, they think that you should be able to do the job with. On page 6, we have 66.37 positions employed that are state aid eligible, and we are allowed 60.7. We are over by 5.67 on service personnel. On our student support personnel, that's your nurses, counselors, and social workers. You're allowed to have those per 1,000. We have currently 4 employed, so we are actually under formula by 1.47, but they don't take that away from us, so we're okay. We're allowed to have 5.4, and we actually have 4. So
We can't take it and add it to another.
Yes.
Drop it, or we can.
yes, yeah, we get the money anyway. So if you add up the overage for professional personnel, the amount that we're under for the student support personnel, and the amount that we're over on service personnel, we are over funding formula by 10.12 positions. And in the prior year, we were at 3.5 positions for this. So what happened between last year and this year?
We ran out of COVID money.
Bingo. You got it. So ESSERF is gone. We absorbed several of those positions. And also as a result, our special education services, we've had to add positions in order to meet the needs of our students. So that combination is now, we've got ourselves where we're 10 over versus 3 in the prior year at the same time. Our workforce currently stands at professional personnel of 103. We have 66 service positions for total positions of 169 actual positions that we have here. And then as I look at the agenda, we're going to have a few more vacancies. But whenever I did this, this is what I was working with. a custodian at the middle school. She was just in here. So we have a custodian. Actually, that's not true. One aide for the third grade that was just authorized at the last board meeting. So that position is there for third grade. We have a pre-K teacher position. Our math position is still going to be open here at the high school. And then we have the counselor position that is still open at the primary center that is still unfilled. So altogether, all positions, we have 169. About 12 of those are federally funded.
And then if those vacant positions were filled, then we'd be even more over.
I have 169 positions, and then of those, of that 169, 5 right now are vacant. But after tonight, there's going to be a few more. So they're included in the 169. I projected for them.
Okay, so when we talk about like service personnel being over 5, if we hired these additional service personnel, is that included in the 5, or would it be
Yes.
additional too? Same thing with professional.
The only one that would be additional is the third grade aide that you just authorized at the last board meeting.
That's
So-
on tonight.
Is that tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't.
That's okay.
I've been reading agendas and I got myself all confused. I'm so sorry. So if you authorize that tonight, that would be in addition to that 5. The state has already allowed for that in their calculations. That was the reason for the change in the ratios. So, but that would be one more over. Okay. All right, on page 8. So our general fund, it increased approximately $409,000 from last year. Now that is made up of about $138,000 in PIA and also contracted services. Now this is new. Our federal money is getting tapped because it's decreasing, unfortunately, and the amount of services that we're needing are also increasing also. So our contracted services is now up to it's an increase of about $110,000. That includes special ed, and also we've had to get resourceful as to try to help our students here with math services as well. So we're using online services for that.
So Ms. Cummings?
Yes.
So the contractor is a result of the lack of federal aid that we're getting, right?
It's because, well, normally, we've been able to sustain all of those contracted special services that we need for our students within our federal IDA funding and our state special ed funding.
That's what I
But,
was just getting ready
yes.
to ask again, was about the state, if there was
Yeah.
some.
Yeah,
help
so
from them
those
to-
2 buckets together generally have been enough to support it, but
Right.
based on the needs that are now, that we have before us, those 2 cannot support the contracted
Understood.
services anymore.
Thank you.
And unfortunately, Medicaid is decreasing, and I've swallowed as much as I can out of there, but
It's hard to drain a washcloth that's dry.
yes, yeah, yeah. Now, this is new, charter payments. They increased by $132,000. So within this budget, they do a calculation based on how much we need, and they include what they call charter students. So those are students that are within this county's boundaries that are actually enrolled in charter schools. So those 19, they are included in all of these calculations as additional from the enrollment that I showed you before. But they make me show a $152,000 payment going to them, but they also recognize that as a charter school payment up above. So that's also a huge increase from the previous year. Previously, it was only, we had 5. This year, they state we have 19. We'll leave it at that. Anyway, so that number is there. I've had some conversations with the State Department in regards to their calculations of those charter payments. I've got one that understands, and I'm working on the other one that it's not quite, they've got error in there, and I've got to get him to understand that on the 1,400 enrollment. And it only affects counties with 1,400 in enrollment. The way I calculated, I think we got shorted about $30,000 because of it. So I will. I've got one who agrees, but I can't get the other one to
Hey,
agree
one out
yet.
of two, though.
Huh?
1 out of 2.
1 out of 2. I'm working on them. So anyway, so the charter school enrollment, we're still working on that. So, and then the last thing, for the general fund increases, this is positive. Bus replacement is up by 40,000. So if you'll remember, that's a huge increase for us. It's because it's finally starting to cycle through that electric bus, which was $300,000, of which we got federal money that covered that entire electric bus. But because it's now in the inventory, it's causing our value to go up, and now we're reaping the benefit of that purchase. So bus replacement is now up by 40,000. So that was nice. By area, on page 9, you can see that about 66% of the budget is all in instruction and student services. Administration is about 13%, transportation facilities around 21%. So of all of that, on the bottom slide, you can see salary and fringes is 83% of all of our expenditures we have before us, and only 17% is left to pay things like textbooks, the fuel for the buses, the electricity, all that good stuff. So on page 10, of the 83% of the budget, 61% of it is, of the 83% that's for salary and fringes, 61% of that is for actual salaries. And then you can also see that insurance is another big component that makes up your salary and fringe costs, coming in at 14%, and then retirement and workers' comp is at 15%. So, overview, total budget, $18 million, 14.9 for your general fund, the special revenue at 2.9, that has your grants and your food service in there. Food service is right at 1.3 million. And your capital projects, we just have it starting out at 100 grand. Now your last page. Unfortunately, they are telling us to prepare for federal Title I program cuts. They say that they can range anywhere from 8 to 20%. So we don't have any allocations whatsoever on that yet. So that is not factored in here yet. I don't have any numbers. So the numbers that I have for the federal programs right now is what we have currently. I don't have any adjustments yet because everything keeps fluctuating. Project Aware, I just want to make you aware, this is FY26 is the last year for that project. It's a $475,000 grant each year for the last, this is year 4, next year is year 5. So that grant will end, and it does fund 3.6 positions. So we've got to be planning what's going to take place. Also, I mean, it's a $475,000 grant. It pays for well over $100,000 worth. You see it on your bills. Wirt County Health Services, lots of additional services for our students. So that's something else that we need to take in consideration as we're moving forward. And then lastly, there's a state budget session coming up. I'm told it's going to be in August, and I've been told that they do have an outside auditing firm of some sort coming in looking at the funding formula, and that there may be, they're not real sure what's going to come out of that. It may be positive, that they're painting it that it's likely going to be negative.
Well, I will just chime in there. They have spoken to 0 superintendents. They have spoken to 0 school treasurers.
Yep.
And the Superintendent Association was drafting a letter saying if you're talking school finance, why not bring superintendents and school treasurers to the table to answer any questions you might have. And thus far, that has not happened.
You would think that would make sense.
So,
With the total budget, without the possible cuts, because we're not sure how much, if and when, are we at a budget surplus or a budget deficit for the year?
This year coming up, Wirt County is still very financially sound, so we will still end up with a budget surplus.
And how much is that surplus?
Currently, right now, it's over 3 million.
But I'll just throw this out there for the good of the cause. We have been very fiscally conservative with what we have done, and we used our COVID monies in a very conservative way, and we have that surplus there. Okay, the legislators and the governor are looking at counties that by code, you have to have so much carryover just in a rainy day fund year to year. They are looking at those funds and saying, we don't need to fund the schools at the current level that we are because they're sitting on all of this money. But if you need to replace an HVAC or like perfect example, the gym floor at the middle school, there was a leak and the floor is going to have to be fixed. It's only fiscally prudent to save for some of those big projects. They're looking at that and saying, schools have all this money, we need to give them less. And that's not necessarily true.
So is the amount that we have to keep about 3%?
They
3
would
to 5.
prefer us to have 3 to 5% is what they prefer. Now, the governmental association of office there, they prefer you to have 16 to 20% is what, 16 to 20% is what they would prefer you. The State Department likes to see the range 3 to 5% is what they would like to have each county board carry for contingency, just in case something would happen. Now, across the whole state, once COVID hit and all of this supplemental ESSER funding, federal funding came in, and at that same time, assessed valuations across the state went up. So property tax collections and things of that nature also increased during the same time frame. So it was a perfect storm for the county boards because almost every county, their carryovers went up, their fund balance that Mr. McCown is looking at. But what just happened? That federal money is now gone. You can clearly see just from last year to this year the number of people that were over. So we're going to start coming back down, and that's going to be the trend statewide. And unfortunately, right now they're concentrating on that amount of money, but it built up over that period of time, and it will come down. I mean, that is what everyone is seeing.
So ours is roughly 18 to 20%?
The carryover, yes. Mhm.
Okay, so is there a risk with having that? Is there a risk of losing that money by continuing to carry it over?
As of right now, no.
Not unless the legislatures change the funding formula because of it.
I mean, anything coming out of the study that they do, I mean, we don't have any idea what they're going to be looking at for it.
The risk is not having it right
Yeah.
now. The risk is not having it.
Yes, just,
What I'm speaking about is if we have a larger carryover than surrounding areas, will we be penalized for having that money and not getting more state funding because we did the right thing and save? Would they reduce it because we have a larger backup reserve?
with the rules and regulations in now, the answer is no. Because most of the federal funding is driven based on poverty levels. That pretty much is the same. So a lot of that funding is based on that. And the 10-step formula that we just went on, it's driven based on that snapshot in time of October 1. And then step 9 of that funding formula takes 85% of your local tax collections out. That's where the equitable part comes into play. But your excess levy, you get to keep 100% of it. So we're very fortunate that we have that here. There's a handful of counties that do not have that. But as far as being penalized for carrying forward, the answer would be no at this point in time. But I don't know going forward.
Yeah, right now, there's counties that are being penalized. I don't know if penalized word to use. They're
Additional
being
scrutiny
looked
if
at
they're below.
because
if
they're
they're
below
below.
and actually will probably end up being taken over by the state.
Well, yeah.
That being one of several factors.
It is one of the factors.
One of several factors.
And do we know what the surrounding counties, if they are carrying over a similar percentage?
The state puts out a sheet that shows everyone's balances as they calculated it. But the state has a criteria they use in order to evaluate the effectiveness of the financial security of your school system. And one of the factors is, what is your fund balance? Because if it's way down here, you're not going to get the points. And if you're above that level, they actually give out extra points because you are in a very sound state of matters at that time. So right now, having that cushion out there is a good thing.
It's giving us, you said, additional points.
Yes.
And what is the benefit to us for having those additional points, besides having the money secured?
That is the state's measure of how they determine your financial security, and whether or not they need to come in and assist you. That's one of the scales that they use.
So it determines if we open our books and then allow an outside organization to make our decisions for us.
Being the State Department of
Yes.
Education, correct?
Yeah, when they come in to assist you, it's not we're giving you more money. It's to take you.
Helps
To
us
take over the
make-
board.
Yes.
Make the
Yeah,
decisions.
They
for you.
Yeah.
don't give you more
Yeah.
money to.
I do have one question about the federal, and I think I talked to you a little bit, but I think it needs to be. The federal government decreases, then we have to absorb that cost of our budget. Okay, there's also, and I was asked about this too, this past week, there's talk about doing away with Head Start. So we'll have to absorb the kids and staff to support it.
Won't have.
Is that something we'll absorb also, or will we get money?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if,
So I think, and my understanding is that some standalone Head Starts are getting cut, but we're in like a cooperative where the Head Start folks are in our building with our school, and then they just reimburse us for a portion of a salaried position. I have not heard that the manner that we're moving forward with them is going to change, but I did hear that some standalone Head Start programs were getting cut. It would be, yeah, our preschool isn't going anywhere, so if Head
Right.
Start would go away, we would have to absorb that position.
yeah, we're in a much better position than some of the other counties because ours is actually a collaborative.
Yeah.
And those students are actually counted in our enrollment numbers. Some other counties do not have that.
The lady from Appalachian was on TV. She did and she was saying that the cuts that the funding for Appalachian, who's we're under, has been restored. Okay, that there was that funding has been restored. That we will go on like we were.
I did,
The
yeah.
point I was wanting to get is, that's where we need that little bit
Cushion.
over cushion.
Yes.
We
Because,
could.
there's all kinds of stuff, the federal
Yeah.
government's gonna cut us, there's possibility that, we have to absorb costs.
For the counties who do not have an arrangement like we do with our Head Start being a collaborative, I do feel bad for them because those students are not counted in their enrollment, so therefore they do not get any compensation in forms of state aid for those students in the funding formula. And now they're having to put them in there, and it's, they're not in the funding formulas, so I don't know if they're going to get a special allocation later to help offset that cost, but they're going to have to figure out a way to hire teachers and get them in there. I mean, it was a totally separate program from the school system.
Glad it's not us.
Yeah. So for us, we've got, ours is a pretty good arrangement, the way it is.
So are those kids in Head Start are counted in our,
Yeah, they're part of our
Okay.
enrollment. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
I didn't know
they're
that.
within all of these numbers that are presented here tonight. So,
Yeah, if it went away, it'd cost us what, an aid? 2 aids?
Maybe 2, I think.
Yeah. But that's my understanding, is that the Appalachian is supposed to have been, that the cooperatives have been put back into the funding. But they'd probably be taken out just as fast, huh?
So that's a little bit more information than what you could have actually extracted from the 3 pages that are going to get published in the newspaper, and hopefully that gave you a little bit of insight in the funding formula and where we stand on that. But we can always do more. If you want more information, more details, I'll be happy to provide anything you like.
could go through all those.
We could.
Yeah.
I told my boss at work, I said, I've never had to balance a budget until I came to work here, and then the second time was the school. Biggest in the county.
I
Any-
like your pie graphs and your charts.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yes.
that is very good.
Very good.
Very good.
Karen's always been able to take something that is extremely technical and deep in minutia and be able to explain it.
Excellent job.
Yeah, always been able to.
So,
There are times I go in her office and she'd just say, it's like, I get it. But we appreciate it, Karen.
yeah, thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Yes, you're welcome.
Other questions for Karen? So at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion for recess for a public hearing regarding the 25-26 proposed budget. Do I have such a motion?
So,
Okay, we are in recess for a public hearing. That is, anybody out there in the public that has a question, or board members for that matter. We'll give a couple minutes if anybody has questions, and if not, we'll move right on with the agenda.
My favorite part.
crickets.
Recess, yeah. Any questions for Mrs. Cummins or Mr. McCown? I think we're pretty well hashed
The
it out, haven't we?
treasurers an estimate of when federal budget numbers are going to be forthcoming?
The last that I heard, I'm thinking it's going to be July before we get any final numbers.
Okay.
Okay, hearing no questions regarding the hearing, I will entertain a motion to return to regular session. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, we have a motion to return to regular session. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, Sherry, you got time and stuff on that, didn't you? Okay, thank you. Okay, we're already under a motion, okay, to approve the proposed budget. We took it at the very beginning, okay, up there under 5. So we're already under that motion. So at this time, any questions about that motion to approve the 25-26 proposed budget? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the 25-26 proposed budget as presented. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. You're good with that, right, Sherry? What we did there? Okay. Okay, we're down to routine business. Resignations, leave of absence. Need a motion to approve the resignation of Stacy Barnhart as 4th grade teacher, Wirt County Primary Center, effective at the end of the 24-25 school year, or school year contract.
So moved.
Mr. McCown, anything?
So, fantastic teacher. I hate to see her go, but her letter was in there, and she's choosing to spend some more time with her family. But I want to thank her for the job that she has done for us. She's been an outstanding teacher, and I wish her well in her endeavors that she's undertaking.
Yeah, who knows, some year she
And
might come back
she
to
had
us.
mentioned that she might apply to be a substitute teacher
That would be great.
at some point in time down the road.
That'd be great. Any questions? Hear none, we have a motion to accept the resignation of fourth grade teacher Stacy Barnhart at Wirt County Primary Center effective at the end of the 24-25 school year. All in favor say aye. Aye, opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. We have a motion to accept the resignation of Shayla Griffey, third grade teacher, Wirt County Primary Center, effective at the end of the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Mr. McCown.
Another fantastic teacher that I'm sad to lose, but I guess she's been taking a position where she grew up, and you can't fault anybody for wanting to do that. So, but again, thank her for the time that she's taught for us. She's been an outstanding teacher, and wish her well in her new position.
Yeah, another one we hate to lose. She was one of my residents or one of my student teachers. Any other questions? Hear none. We have a motion to approve the resignation of Shayla Griffey, third grade teacher, Wirt County Primary Center, effective at the end of the 24-25 school year. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Need a motion to accept the resignation of Autumn Bell as assistant softball coach for Wirt County High School, effective immediately.
So moved.
Mr. McCown?
Nothing to add. Her letter was in your packet.
Questions, comments? Hear none, we have a motion to accept the resignation of Autumn Bell as assistant softball coach, Wirt County High School, effective immediately. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Need a motion to approve the resignation of Rachel Compston, speech language pathologist, district-wide, effective at the end of the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Mr. McCown?
So again, she's done an outstanding job as a speech person with us, and we will miss her, but her letter was in your packet and wanting to spend time with family, so I completely understand that.
Questions, comments? Hear none, we have a motion to accept the resignation of Rachel Compston, speech language pathologist, district-wide, effective at the end of the 24-25 school year. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Need a motion to approve the resignation of Hunter McCoy, assistant varsity boys basketball coach for Wirt County High School, effective May 14th, 2025.
So moved.
Mr. McCown.
Nothing to add. Their letter was in your packet.
Questions, comments? Hear none, we have a motion to approve the resignation of Hunter McCoy as assistant varsity boys basketball coach, Wirt County High School, effective May 14th, 2025. All in favor say aye. Aye, opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Need a motion to accept the resignation of Justice Arguello, math teacher, Wirt County High School, effective May 15th, 2025.
So moved.
Mr. McCown.
So a little aggravated on this one. So we had hired him. I was working with the immigration lawyer to sponsor his visa ship, and he sends an email saying that he has taken a job out of state. So we are back to the drawing board with that. We will post the high school math position and back up and punt.
Questions, comments?
Did his resignation come in time before we had to pay the visa fees?
She had been working pro bono until it was ready to pull the trigger and file his paperwork. So we have not paid her a dime. Thankfully, that's the only blessing in this whole conundrum.
Any other questions, comments? Hear none. We have a motion to accept the resignation of Justice Arguello, math teacher, Wirt County High School, effective May 15th, 2025. All in favor say aye. Aye, opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Okay, now under employment, we have a motion to employ Casey Sims, substitute teacher for 24-25 school year, effective upon completion of her required paperwork.
So moved.
Mr. McCown, anything?
So certified teacher wants to come and sub for us, and I'm happy to be adding some names to that role. We definitely need some subs.
Mr. McCown, do you know, just off the top, I probably should have looked, what her certifications were?
I know that it is elementary
Okay.
ed, but I'm pretty sure they're K through 6. I'm not sure what else they
Okay.
got.
Well, maybe she'll want to work full-time.
We will see.
Yeah. Any other questions? Hearing none, we have a motion to employ Casey Sims as a substitute teacher for 24-25 school year, effective upon completion of her required paperwork. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Need a motion to approve the employment of Jordan Mills, substitute teacher for 24-25 school year, effective upon completion of her required paperwork.
So moved.
Mr. McCown?
So I believe this one was through the RIF process in Roane County.
Okay.
So I believe they're social studies certified.
Okay.
But definitely could utilize them, and it's not hard to take a praxis, so I would
That's right.
encourage them to pick up some other certifications, and particularly something that we need filled, and go from there. Math.
There you go. Any questions, comments? Hear none, we have a motion to approve the employment of Jordan Mills, substitute teacher for 24-25 school year, effective upon completion of her required paperwork. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Need a motion to approve the employment of Stephen Frame as substitute bus operator for 24-25 school year, pending background check and certification, effective upon completion of the required paperwork.
So moved.
Mr. McCown?
So their application was in your packet. We were down to the wire lacking subs last
Yep.
week, and we just about had to cancel an evening bus route. So happy to get another sub on the roster after we get this gentleman trained.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, we have a motion to employ Stephen Frame as a substitute bus operator for 24-25 school year, pending the completion of background check and certification, and effective upon completion of required paperwork. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Need a motion to approve the employment of Tim Lynch as a custodian 3, Class C, Wirt County Middle School, 2:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., 240-day employment contract, effective June 4th, with completion of the required paperwork.
So moved.
Mr. McCown?
So as you recall, this is the job that we abolished the 200-day and reauthorized the 240, so we didn't have to hire another summer custodian that'll give the middle school 2 folks to do waxing, and Tim is the successful bidder on that position.
Questions, comments? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the employment of Tim Lynch, custodian 3, Class C, Wirt County Middle School, 2:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., 240-day employment contract, effective June 4th, 2025, with completion of required paperwork. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Okay, number 5 is going to be reposted and brought back to us. So we're at number 6. Need a motion to approve the employment of Misty McCulty, Cook 3, for summer food service programs as needed, effective June 4th, 2025.
So moved.
Mr. McCown?
So she has held the position before, so gets summer seniority in that position. I'm happy to have her back cooking for us for summer school again.
Questions, comments? Hear none, we have a motion to approve Misty McCulty as Cook 3 for summer food service program as needed, effective June 4th, 2025. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Down to number 7, need a motion to approve Robert Hickman as summer general maintenance / groundkeeper as needed, effective June 4th, 2025.
So moved.
Mr. McCown?
Bob has worked for us in that capacity before. Happy to have him back helping us out in the summertime again.
Questions, comments? Hear none, we have a motion to approve Robert Hickman as summer general maintenance / groundskeeper as needed, effective June 4th, 2025. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Need a motion to approve the employment of Melissa Dotson, bus operator, Energy Express, and other extended school year programs as needed, effective June 4th, 2025.
So moved.
Mr. McCown?
So Melissa, again, has driven summer school bus for us many years. Happy to have her back doing it again.
Questions, comments? Hear none. We have a motion to approve Melissa Dotson as bus operator, Energy Express, and other extended school year programs as needed, effective June 4th, 2025. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. And need a motion to approve the 25-26 professional substitute list.
So moved.
Mr. McCowan.
That list is in your packet. Do you want me to go down through and read all the names?
The board's prerogative.
Motion to take all names on the list at once.
We'll make that within the, who approved that? Who? Luke, you good with that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, take all names in one action. Questions or comments about any names? Hear none. We have a motion to accept in completion the 25-26 professional substitute list. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Need a motion to approve the 25-26 service substitute list as presented, unless there's any that you wish to have pulled off.
So moved.
So moved. Any questions, comments about substitute list? Hear none. We have a motion to approve the 25-26 service substitute list as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, we're down to new business. Okay, this approved policy J09, open enrollment policy, and it says there's 6 comments. I've had several questions about this policy that people have made comments and they did not come through under the policy. So speaking with Mr. McCowan, I'm going to make a motion, instead of approve this policy, that we put it back out for 5 more days to give those people that that their comments did not come through a chance to re-comment, and then we'll bring it back at the next board meeting for discussion and to approve. It doesn't affect the policy when it goes into effect or anything like that. So my motion, I'm looking for a motion to put the open enrollment policy J-09 back out for comment for 5 days.
So moved.
Okay. Mr. Stewart made the motion. Any questions or comments? If you have questions about that, guys.
So we got contacted at the board office that the comment thing wasn't working, or they had difficulty doing it, but by the time that Sherry went in and put a test comment to test it, that popped up and there were 6 comments there. So I will just say, if you tried to comment before and you weren't able to, we will put the thing back up and give you another opportunity to comment on that policy.
I think it makes, we ask people to comment, we hardly ever get comments. And if they feel that their comments didn't come through, they might have come through at that point, but at the point before they had not. So it does no harm to put it back out for 5 days and give people a chance to do it.
So is this motion by you or me?
It's by,
It's me.
yeah, I read the motion and Ms. Stewart made the motion. You were going to say something, Ms.
Right, so if someone is having difficulty using that system to comment, could they call into the
Sure.
office or drop by?
Absolutely.
Either
So
one.
that way, anybody that has input, we'll make sure that we get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we don't want anybody feel like they were cut out of, we're glad people are interested in making comments, so. And there's a good chance that the comments probably are there, but just to make it right, we'll put it back out. So the motion is to put policy J-09, open enrollment policy, back out for 5 more days comment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Okay. Need a motion to move the June 17th, 2025 board meeting to June 26th, 2025.
So moved.
Mr. McCown.
So this request is twofold. First, the 17th date is when the state superintendent conference is at Stonewall, and I'm going to have to be at Stonewall that week. The second request for that move is to give the ladies in accounts payable time to process the June bills. Mrs. Cummings has found that moving the board meetings up a little bit, we're in the end of the year crunch right now with the early board meetings and getting the budget, and it just moved the time frame up a little bit. So moving it to the 26th would give them time to process, close out the June books, and turn over the books.
Can everybody make that day? Karen, if we went further, deeper, would it help, or do you think?
Well, the issue is the first
Yeah.
Tuesday in July is
It's
the
right there.
first, so if we moved it back, we could have a board meeting the 30th and then have one July 1st, but
Yeah.
that might be, so
So-
I thought the 26th
Yeah,
would be
I'm
a
good
good compromise.
Does anybody have a problem, Ms. Sherlock?
No, I
Can you
can-
make that?
As
Good.
far as I know.
Okay. Okay, so the motion is to approve the change of the June 17th, 2025 board meeting to June 26th, 2025. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Done. Okay, amend policy B-01, board meeting protocol, and put out for public comment for 5 days. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't print
go
a
ahead.
physical copy of this, but it is in your packet. As you recall, the legislative session before last said that boards may vote to do that, and you probably remember that there was an ethics question about it. Can boards vote to give themselves a raise? And there's all of this hoopla, and we
Right.
changed that policy. Well, the legislature went back and changed that word and made it shall this time. So we're going to have to go back and amend the policy again. And in your packet, I put what it would be changing, section 5, board member compensation. And it would read, effective July 3rd, 2025, members of the Wirt County Board of Education shall be compensated at the maximum rate set forth in West Virginia Code 18-5-4.
Because actually, if we don't do this, then our policy is in violation of state code. So, and by doing this, it just sets it there, and from now on, whatever is put out in state code, that's where we'll go.
This is the trend with all boards of education, is that correct?
Every board in the state will
Everyone
do
has to
that.
go to.
It
and it's
said shall.
One mechanism.
And then when will the difference,
That first board
Well,
meeting
it
in
would-
July.
Well, no, because this says effective July 3, we're going to have a board meeting July 1.
There you go.
So
it'll
the
be
second board meeting in July.
there we go.
Because the state code says
It's not
July.
effective until July 3rd.
July 3rd. So,
And what does that change? The number?
Oh,
How much is that gonna increase our,
260, I believe.
so then that's gonna also increase our budget when that happens?
Yes. Yes, it will. Any other questions? And this is one that we really wouldn't have to put out for comment because we're changing it to state law, okay? But again, we want people to know what we're doing, so I think it behooves us to put it out and give people a chance to comment on it.
Was there also something in the change about meeting electronically?
No, all that's the same,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't believe there was
Yeah.
a change in that.
I mean, I do not know anything that was changed. The legal, when they did the legal thing on it, the only thing that they talked about was that date to change the pay. And all the counties pretty well did what we did, so they're all going back now and having to revise that policy to meet state code.
So if this is put out for public comment, will
would also include the part about it being state code.
Yeah, policy will go out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make sure.
Yeah, I think you actually cite the state code. in
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
there. Okay, any other questions? Okay, we have a motion to amend policy B-01, board meeting protocol, and place out on public comment for 5 days. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next, we need a motion to authorize a supervisory A2 pay grade C, third grade, Wirt County Primary Center.
So moved.
Mr. McCown.
So as you recall, we transferred an aide to third grade, and we're authorizing an additional aide position for that requirement of instructional aides to be in third grade classrooms next year. So bringing that to you to authorize so that we can post it.
So this will be an additional to what we currently have, not just
There,
of actually in the classroom.
of what we currently have when?
As of, from this current school year.
So we currently do not have any aides in third grade this school year.
in
So
addition,
the
not just
legislature put them in third, so they put them in first, this year they put them in second, next year they're putting them in third. So this school year, we don't have any instructional aides in third grade.
In additional aid, not moving an aid from.
That's correct.
We transferred one from first grade to third, and I'm asking you to authorize an additional, brand-new third grade aide.
To put that 8 in there. One was transfer and one will be new.
This,
Correct.
well, yes, there should be 2 then in third.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion to authorize the supervisory A2 pay grade C, third grade, Wirt County Primary Center. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. We have no out-of-county student enrollments. We have no volunteer chaperones, so we're down to information, board concerns, and we'll start with Mr. Stewart.
I think it ought to be announced so the public could hear about the awards ceremonies, about how they've been split, because I've got some questions.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Dottie. So senior awards will be 12 o'clock this Friday. Okay, underclassmen awards will be 12 o'clock next week on the 29th. 1 o'clock on the 29th, and middle school awards are 8:30 a.m. this Thursday.
Mrs. Smith, I know you've put that out there, but could you put it back out and sort of make it clearer? Because I'm not sure people are getting what you're doing. Okay. If you wouldn't mind. I know you don't. Yeah, I like it. I think it's a good thing to do. Okay, I think it gives those seniors the honors they need, and it gives the underclassmen the honor they need. And before, by the time you got to the underclassmen, everybody
Everybody's
was
wore out.
done. So we agree with what you're doing there. I think it's a good change.
I'd like to know, since she's, so any family member is for the seniors? Okay, and plus with the 9th, 10th, and 11th?
Yes.
Okay. That was another question.
Anything else, Mr. Stewart?
That's it.
Mr. Lowe, good? Mr. Sherlock?
Another question about budget. With the reserve amount, is that the same as it was last year, or did it change?
The reserve that's currently in the budget? Well, the carryover, we will bring it forward into FY '26 budget once we do the financials, and they're not done until September to get the actual amount. So at this point in time, we just have an estimated, just a number to put in there of $600 and some thousand is all that we put in there at this point in time.
Okay, but you mentioned it's about 3 million?
Yes, this year is over 3 million. Mhm.
Okay, is that the,
We will bring that forward into the budget in the month of September.
so what I'm asking is that an increase or decrease from previous projections, or is that the same?
We're hoping that it's going to be about the same, is what we're
I mean,
hoping.
depending on some of the things you don't know yet. but
Yeah,
It's projected to be steady state, not an increase or a decrease.
that's what we're hoping for, yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Moore?
Nothing, sir.
Okay. Just a reminder, Saturday is graduation. Did I get that right?
Sunday.
Sunday. I'll get the right day here, okay? Nothing like giving wrong information. Sunday is graduation. And Mrs. Smith would like to have board members there at 1 o'clock in the auditorium, if you could make it there about that time. And as Mr. Cowan has already said, we've got lots of award ceremonies and things going on this week, so hope to see some of you there. Anything else? Mr. Cowan, anything pretty good?
Have we gotten a response from everybody with the board self-reflection that
Oh,
you
yes.
sent
They're
out?
good, yeah.
Because I didn't send it and I can't see it, but if everybody has everybody done that?
I don't think
Okay.
Mr. Lowe, you've done it, right?
Which one?
The self-reflection where you
No,
answer.
yeah.
Yeah, and Ms. Sherlock, I believe you've done it, right?
Yes.
And Luke, so, Mr. Lowe.
You on the computer and do it?
Yeah, or you.
If you can you send me the link again?
Yep.
And I can, if you need help, I can help.
Okay, I'll get with you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because that is absolutely coming up.
Because, yeah, I think August 15th, we've
Yeah.
got to
Yeah, we have to have it before then. August 15th is when we
have to send it. Yeah,
Right.
yes, sir.
I have
Yes,
one
I
more
will
for
send that to you in just a minute.
Okay.
One more question for you. For the graduation ceremony, is there a limit on how many guests a student can bring?
So Mrs. Smith put out that the graduates are going to get 10 tickets, okay? And they can give to the family members that they choose, and those 10 are going to get in at 1 o'clock, okay? And then any other family that they want to bring and any other folks may enter the gym at 1:30.
And that's assuming space available if it doesn't.
Well, are we going to do the overflow in the auditorium again? So between the gym and the auditorium, we should have space for anybody that wants to watch graduation to come.
Great.
That was another one that
Yeah.
you asked earlier.
I
right?
I was gonna bring that back up too, because it is kind of, people's asking me, and
Okay.
It's a big day for them.
yeah.
Anything else, guys? Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned. Next board meeting is, I'm supposed to say that.
June the...
Next board meeting is June 3rd,
June
2025, here in the cafeteria at 6 o'clock. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Scott.